This is Late Night Health. This is the radio show that cares about the most important part of your life, your health. During the next hour, the insane Daryl Wayne and I are going to take a look at some issues that I think touch each and every one of us. During the second part of our show, Dr. Stephen Sinatra will return. We're going to talk about heart health and bad heart habits, and we'll find out how to overcome that. We're going to start this first part, and I invite Daryl, as always, to join in with Deanna Shoss. Deanna is an interculturalist, an author, an anthropologist, a satirist, a marketer, fitness instructor. She's a wife and a mother, and she has a great sense of humor. She is based in Chicago, Illinois, and we go there right now. Daryl, before we go to Deanna, yes. Did you have a good relationship with your grandparents?
I had completely opposite sets of grandparents on each side. On the maternal side, my grandmother was a housewife, and my grandfather was a banker. And on the my father's side, my grandfather was a local truck driver and equestrian, and my grandmother, ran chuck wagons and stuff like that. So it was sort of, I had the Old West or the let's play a couple of games of Parcheesi.
Yeah, with my maternal grandparents, I had a great relationship. I never met my father's parents. My grandmother on his side passed away very young, and my grandfather I did meet. I must have been about 1 year old, so I have no memory of him other than a picture of him pushing me in a baby carriage. And it's hard to believe that I once fit in a baby carriage. Well, we're going to talk about intergenerational relationships and intercultural relationships with Deanna. Deanna, welcome to Late Night Health.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here with you.
Well, thanks for joining us. What is an interculturalist? And we have to point out that whatever it is, you live as an interculturalist. You'll explain that to us in a moment. What is an interculturalist?
It's interesting, Mark, you're asking a more complicated question than you realize. Because for those who are purists or traditionalists, they will look at an interculturalist by nationality. So someone, let's say, who is looking, how do people do things in France or in Germany or in the U.S., and they really look at culture through that narrow lens. What's happening now is really everyone operates by their own set of values that are determined by culture. So an interculturalist is someone who is able to recognize their own influence of culture on the way they behave. They can recognize that in others, and they can adapt their behavior to get along and communicate business with people who are different than that.
You live it. You were married to somebody from another country. Would that qualify as an interculturalist?
Yes, I am intercultural, interfaith. My husband's from Brazil. I'm from Missouri. I'm Jewish. He was raised not Jewish. So we live interculturalism every day of our life.
And you have children. How about them? Are they the interculturalist byproduct, so to speak?
I think I'm laughing a little bit right now. Our son is 20, so he's still in the phase where he's rejecting everything. So when he was younger, he was Portuguese. He was bar mitzvah, so he was raised with both cultures. I'm assuming he's going to circle back around, but right now he says, I'm just white. I'm not any of these other things.
Yeah, you know what? I got one of those too. Is that blending? Is that a good thing?
So it's more a question of understanding how people operate. So, for example, I was married to my husband for a full year before we went to Brazil. And suddenly there were things that I noticed that were more cultural than even personality. The reason that's important is because people operate through a set of values. And so, for example, I'm just going to use the easiest one I can think of. Think of something like eye contact. In U.S. American culture, what's a great way to show someone respect? You make eye contact as you're talking to them. But let's look at someone who's from Japanese culture. It actually can be a sign of disrespect to make eye contact with someone. What happens in an intercultural setting is that people miscue speaking to someone. They're not making eye contact, then you're not trusting, vice versa. If you understand how things operate in the other culture, you can actually adapt how you behave to the other. And so I think that's an amazing thing, especially today. You know, Mark, if you look at how people have so many different ideas and how they come to their beliefs about the world, it's really important to understand that most people are not just complete jerks. Like, they have a set of values that guided them to how they look at the world.
You're talking about, eye contact. And eye contact is important because eyes are the windows to the soul. And you need to look at somebody straight on. Now, if you stare at them, it becomes a staring contest.
No, I was going to say, but that idea that looking into someone's eyes, that's Western culture, that's also U.S. culture. That's not universally true in all cultures. So it's being able to read the other person, as well. Because you're right, staring at someone incessantly until you're an infant can be considered as a challenge.
With somebody from Brazil and somebody from the United States, I have several Brazilian friends actually, and somebody I just met from Argentina, and everybody has, there's a little different way of moving within civilization, and it's different. I mean, idioms and slang are different. My question is, well, let me make a statement. To me, this sounds like a great idea, because if the world got to know each other, maybe there wouldn't be as much, we wouldn't have fighting and wars and all that kind of stuff. And maybe that's idealistic. I don't know.
Well, certainly taking time to understand others and how they do business could diminish that, and I am with you. I actually even wrote a post for the National Diversity Council that was an interculturalist save the world, because in theory, there are some things that you can apply. Starting, I'm going to pull back from world peace, although I'm all for that, but looking at how you do business. So in the U.S., the dominant communication style is very direct. So if you're going to do business with someone in the U.S., the first thing you want to know is how much it's going to cost. You want to know the money. You want to know how it's going to happen. It's very direct. I went to Brazil. Right. It was probably a second trip or so. We had a business meeting. They served coffee. Then we had lunch. Then we went back to their studio. It was a fashion designer. I thought I was going to spontaneously combust because it had been an hour and they hadn't brought business.
But wait a second. When you went to Brazil the first time, you met your new in-laws.
Yes,
that had to be different. Look, when we come back, we're going to take some time out. When we come back, I want to talk about how you met your in-laws and how that affected, going forward, and how that's something that we can extrapolate to that intercultural marriage that you have. And that we all, to a certain extent, have an intercultural relationship. This is Late Night Health. I'm Mark Allen, along with the insane Daryl Wayne. Be sure to join us at latenighthealth.com.
listening to Late Night Health right now, you're part of the growing target of baby boomers we're serving. Hi, I'm Daryl Wayne, producer of Late Night Health, inviting you to join the Late Night Health family. If you have any business targeting the growing boomer market, Late Night Health is the ideal advertising vehicle for you. From vitamins to insurance, alternative health to Western-style medicine, Late Night Health caters to the growing population of those over 40 years old. This vibrant demographic has expendable income to fight aging, purchase travel, take care of aging parents, or just have fun. Find out about the advertising opportunities with Late Night Health. Call us at 805-391-0308. That's 805-391-0308, or email us at info@latenighthealth.com. That's info@latenighthealth.com. Join Late Night Health as we empower people to take charge of their own health care. Call now at 805-391-0308. That's 805-391-0308.
Late Night Health is proud of our partnership with the EBC, the Evolutionary Business Council. Check them out at ebcouncil.com.
You're listening to Late Night Health with Mark Allen. The show continues in a moment.
Role models. They can make all the difference. In our world today, they have never been more important. One of the nation's most successful mentoring organizations is Jewish Big Brothers Big Sisters of Los Angeles. Their mission is to assist youth in achieving their full potential through innovative and impactful programs. And no nonprofit agency does it better. Jewish Big Brothers Big Sisters of LA serves Jewish children, boys and girls in our local community with a mentoring program that's been going strong since 1915. That's only the beginning. This nationally known agency owns and operates Camp Bob Waldorf. Its summer camping and weekend retreat programs enrich the lives of youth throughout Greater Los Angeles. Then there's a college support program, and last but not least, work that helps kids all over the world through the Teen Talk app. Want to learn more? Go to jbbbsla.org. Donate. Get involved. There's no better way to make a difference. Recently, I met Jacqueline from Bright here in Los Angeles. She gave me a hearing exam and then showed me how to hear again with the new Signia Pure Series hearing aids, and she can give you your life back too. I hear birds chirping, birds cooing, and even my wife. They easily connect to my smartphone. The Signia hearing aids are amazing, and with the charge and go, I don't have to fiddle with batteries and hear all day long. Not hearing is frustrating for you and your family. I know you don't have a problem, but trust me, call Bright Here now for a free hearing exam, a $125 value, yours free, just for making an appointment now. There are offices throughout the Los Angeles area. Call Bright Here now at 323-424-7100. That's 323-424-7100 for a free hearing exam. There's no obligation. Call now, 323-424-7100, or visit them on the web at brighthere.com.
Sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Words are a critical aspect of success. How you get your point across is a crucial part of what makes anything sell. So do it right and hire a writer. Whether it's articles, blog posts, technical writings, website content, product descriptions, or ghostwriting anything from a novel to a nonfiction book about your navel, contact Servet Hassan. If you want it to sell, write it right. Email Servet at servet@servethassan.com.
Late Night Health continues. I'm Mark Allen. Join us at latenighthealth.com. That's latenighthealth.com. We're talking with Deanna Shoss. She is an interculturalist. She does many things. She's a marketer. She has a podcast. She does all kinds of different things. But we're talking about intercultural items. And I started the show today asking Daryl about his grandparents, because there's also intergenerational relationships, and I wanted to get into that as well. When you met your in-laws for the first time, was it awkward? Was it strange for you? Explain.
So my husband and I both have two different versions of this. So she came first. I did that by myself, and I put on a fantastic flowered dress that I love, and because I love flowers. But when I got off the plane, his family said to my husband, they said, "What do you think Brazil is like?" Like, you thought that I had some sort of image of sort of the Caribbean or tropical for Brazil. Even right off the bat, there's like little cat and mouse of looking and kind of knowing. And I should share that we had actually, I'm blushing. You can't see me blushing on air. We had actually been married for a year. We eloped 6 months after we met. I thought he was speaking Spanish. It was Portuguese. 6 months later, we eloped. It's now a year later. I am first going to Brazil to meet my in-laws. What I will start with is the punchline, which is my mother-in-law is an amazing woman. She really is phenomenal. And in anticipation, so my husband and I had been married for a year before, which I don't always recommend, but we've been married for a year before I first went to Brazil and met my in-laws. And so I spent that year learning Portuguese. I do believe that culture is so closely tied with language that to be in an intercultural relationship, it is critical, I think, to learn the language. Plus the fact that my mother-in-law didn't speak English, or my father-in-law, I was much closer with my mother-in-law. They didn't speak English, and so the onus was on me, I thought, to try to make that connection with her.
I know I believe you told me you speak Spanish, but at that time you didn't speak Portuguese.
No, I spoke Spanish and French when I met my husband, having studied it in school and spent short times living with families in other countries to really immerse myself in the language, but had to learn Portuguese after I met my husband. What I will say is that after we've now been married 30 years, but there was a transition point where at first the mother-in-law wanted to know if I was good for her son. And then at some point it was like, I'm going to tell your mom because she would always take my side.
Deanna, you said that your mother-in-law is a wonderful woman, but going from an American family, an American Jewish upbringing that you had, and going to a Brazilian Catholic upbringing, that's intercultural, is it not?
Absolutely it is. And there's little places where it plays out. I didn't find out until much deeper into our marriage. My husband never told his family that I didn't change my last name when we got married, because culturally that was not heard of in Brazil at that time. Whereas for me, as an independent Jewish woman, why would I change my name? So you see it in things like that. So that we had to learn about each other's cultures. I have to give my husband credit because he had to live in the U.S. American culture. He had to adapt even more. I only had to do it when I was there.
Right. And in looking at the world, it would seem to me that things like the internet has made the world smaller, but having an intercultural relationship would also make the world smaller, tighter to me, and friendlier. Am I wrong?
I believe you're absolutely right. Because the ability to have empathy for another person from their perspective is so critical, and that's at the core of interculturalism. To understand what someone's values are, how they communicate. Think about another thing that's very subtle. When I go to Brazil with my sisters-in-laws, it's very common if you're walking down the street to hold, to hook arms or to be much closer physically, whereas in the U.S. we don't do that as much. So if I seem hesitant when I'm in Brazil doing that, they may think that I don't like them. So me knowing that that's a cultural thing to do and then doing it can immediately break down barriers and make us closer together. Some problems, obviously, the way the world is right now, they're more serious than, who can even get to the root of them. But from interculturalism, does the difference make a difference? People just get caught up in the fact that they're different and then can't communicate. Sometimes you can get to meaning quicker than, let's say, if you are reacting to how someone is saying something.
But even with intercultural differences, aren't there a lot of similarities at the same time that you can make, that you can, I don't know, the similarities are building blocks for a stronger relationship?
The similarities can start, but you don't want to focus just on the similarities, because sometimes then there can be conflict behind the scenes that you don't allow. Like, you want to allow someone to be their full self. You know, even when we look, you had mentioned grandparenting and looking at intergenerational.
Generational, yeah.
You know, think of it that way, because if you think of a 14-year-old, I think I told you I have a book coming out in June, it's called Where Two Worlds Meet, a guide to connecting with your teenage grandchildren, co-written with a 93-year-old grandparenting activist. But if you look at an 60, 70, 80-year-old right now, their perception of the world is completely different than, let's say, a 13-year-old today. And so it's so easy to say, well, that's crazy, that's bad, that technology, it's all bad, we didn't have it in my day. Where does that leave you? That leaves you no opportunity to connect about what's important to each other. How did you talk to your friends back then? How do you talk to your friends now? So talking to friends is comparable, but understanding how it's changed.
I'm thinking of Chicago regarding intercultural relations, and I wanted to say, when your book comes out, you'll come back and we'll talk about that. I thought we'd do them both, but we're running out of time. At a time in, say, the 20s, and I'll use Chicago as an example, there was an area for, the Polish area, the Greek area, the Jewish area, the affluent area, the not so affluent area, the black area. And today we see more of a mix. Isn't that better than what we used to see 50, 60, 80, 100 years ago?
We see more of a mix, but just one thing on Chicago neighborhoods is that we also see the different cultural neighborhoods, and now the city does tourism programs to get people to go into, let's say, a neighborhood that's primarily African American or a neighborhood that's Puerto Rican. So you do still see the different kinds of restaurants, or sort of sometimes we'll call that cultural tourism, where you can go to different communities and see the products and the food and things like that. What you're getting on is, and there is an overlap with interculturalism and diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Sure.
When we look at diversity, equity, and inclusion, absolutely that's critical, because there were institutional things that created division. Sometimes those neighborhood lines were divided because of access to housing or access to resources.
We are out of time. I am so sorry, but we will have you back. I promise you that. I look forward to talking about our intercultural talk and intergenerational talk as well. I'm Mark Allen. If you go to latenighthealth.com, we'll have Deanna's picture up there. There'll be a link to her website. You find out all about her and what she does. I'm Mark Allen, along with the insane Darrell Wayne. We'll be back.